because you were home.
What up? What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Blood Splatter Chatter. Stoked to be here with my buddy, Mr. Stu, Mr. Fable. Link's going to be joining us in just a moment. Tonight, we're talking about the 2008 film, The Strangers. So what up, man? What up, Mr. Stu? Thank you for being here, my brother.
What up, bro? Oh, yeah. Glad to be here. Definitely glad you included me on this one, man. This made quite the impression on me when it first came out. So, not as gripping and thrilling on the rewatch as I thought it would be, but regardless, I still, when you see those movies the first time and they have that type of impact on you, they always hold that spot in your heart and your mind. This one scared me for just how simple, how real it felt, real to life, like how it could happen. The setting, the country setting that is very similar to areas I grew up in and houses I lived in. So I don't know, it had a lot of themes of relatability and just a random violence. So this one always affected me from the first watch. The rewatch, like I said, not as much, but regardless, I still think it has definitely some redeemable things to take away from it. Absolutely.
Definitely. I kind of wondered if we would all, or not about all of us, but I experienced a similar thing. I'll kind of leave it at that, where it didn't quite hit me the way I was hoping it would, and I kind of had a feeling it wouldn't. But Fable, what about you, brother? Welcome to the show, man. What's happening?
Station, what's up, guys? This is my first time watch on this one.
Oh, nice.
This one was gripping for me. So I guess that first watch too that you guys had, I had that. I felt like it was really gripping. I wanted to know what was going to happen all the way up to the end, and I thought it was a great little study on fear.
Really. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Right. It's a unique. It's like The Job has, exactly. It's a unique study on fear. It's a movie with really one goal. You could say there's some themes about class warfare and shit like that, maybe sprinkled in, but the movie's main goal is to scare you. And that's one thing, like diving deeper into horror and trying to pick movies. That's not the goal of a lot of horror movies. A lot of them, that's like the secondary goal or like the tertiary goal, if that's the way to say it. I don't think it was, but
I like that
tertiary. I think it's something like that. But this one, it's flat out trying to scare the shit out of you. So, the reason why I picked it, I guess I'll go ahead and say that up front. I think I'm trying to look it up now. I'm pretty sure it's May 17th. Yeah, May 17th, they're releasing The Strangers Part 1, which it's kind of unclear what it is. It's not a remake. I don't know if it's a requel. It's not a reboot. It's said to be inspired by this film, right? And what it is, I'm actually kind of more interested into it a little bit after looking into it, because as I said, Part 1 is coming out May 17th, and then Part 2, or is it Chapter 2? I think it's Part 2, is scheduled to come out around Halloween. And then Part 3 is going to drop in early 2025.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's almost kind of like what Netflix did with that Fear Street thing, where they're just like, bam, bam, bam. 3 movies, like this trilogy is dropping within a year. And we're seeing how like bare bones and simplistic this story is. I kind of see how that could be done. Like it could be really cool. They could just expand on this and kind of take, like, part of what makes this movie unique is that it doesn't have all these other things going on in it. And maybe they'll start with something more bare bones and expand on it, which is something that maybe this film lacks and maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Is it going to be on a particular streaming service, or is it exclusive to anything, or
it's going to theaters? That's
okay. It's just like straight up movies. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like a Netflix property or what. Have you seen the sequel to this, or? No. I saw it on Max, but I've never watched it.
I actually own it. I bought it at like a pawn shop or something for like $250, but I've heard pretty good things. I've heard it's actually pretty solid, and I could see, like, I'm really curious to watch it. I told myself I was going to watch it before we get Link's about to pop in here in a minute, and I have a strong feeling that my man Link has maybe seen it. So let's ask him. What up, brother? Everything working? We can hear you. We can see you. Can we hear you?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Hell yeah, man. We can hear you. What up, brother?
I know the audio might be a little off because I don't have my headphones. My headphones are being a bitch, but
it's all good.
I'm glad I can.
It's all good. Yeah, no, it sounds good enough. But before I ask you, just because we're on the topic and I'm curious, before I ask you what you thought of The Strangers on the rewatch, Did you see the sequel, Strangers Pray at Night from 2018?
Yes. Yes.
How is it? What did you think of
This, without getting into it too much, I enjoyed this one in particular more when I first saw it, and I thought the sequel was kind of shit.
it?
But I almost feel like I was tempted to rewatch the sequel to see if I would have like a different feeling on it.
Right.
Um, just because of the rewatch I had done with this movie. But I mean, I know that's horror. You know that it's full of horror movies. Really, when it exists, to people who didn't do stupid shit. You know, but
right.
I don't know. This one probably has a little bit more meat on its bones. The other one is kind of like a straight up get to the kills, you know, a lot of dumb shit. But I am tempted to rewatch.
Right. I've just been kind of assuming it's this, but a little bit more generic. As far as like this one, I don't know. In some ways, it's very tropey and it's very like predictable and all that. But in other ways, it's not. Like it is a nice twist on some things. It doesn't. It's 2008, so it's before like the elevated era, but it's like just a step way towards that. It's not like a typical horror movie. It's a little bit more elevated. Now, I got to find a better fucking word instead of elevated. But you guys all know what the hell I mean. What up to the chat? I had it where I couldn't see you guys. I didn't know you guys existed for a minute. Inja Binja, what up? Thank you for being here. Stu in the chat and on the panel. 9-panel grid. Mr. E in the building. What up, man? I keep on calling him that, and then afterwards realize I just called him Mystery. Whoa. All right, so let's kind of dive into it this way. I guess I'll kind of give my overall thoughts because I didn't really do that. Here's my experience with the film. It's like a roller coaster for me to where I'm like fucking so into it and I'm super gripped by it. And then at other parts of it, because of like the lack of dialogue, and I don't know how much I want to blame the movie for this or blame myself, but I cannot get out of my head for large chunks of this movie. You know what I mean? We've talked about it before. Like we'll start a movie and I'll be like, oh, I'm like trying to turn that critical part of my brain off and just enjoy it. And when a movie is really good, like you don't even think about that critical part. It just sucks you in. And this movie does do that. But then I find parts of the movie like, oh, I'm supposed to be scared right now. And all I'm doing is reviewing the movie in my head. And I can't stop doing that. And if, you know what I mean? And if it's, I don't know, it gets really intense at times. And then at other times I'm just bored and not into it. And I don't care about the characters. But at other times I'm like, damn, she's really performing well. And I should care about her. So I don't know. Like I have a really hard time knowing what I think about this movie. But
I feel like it definitely gets aimless sometimes with Liv Tyler's scenes and like kind of like when Homeboy kind of, you know, we'll get into it obviously, but when Homeboy kind of disappears or whatever, we don't know what happened to him, just like in that chunk of the movie, and she's kind of roaming the house on her own, know, on her own again. I definitely felt that same.
That's the biggest part to me where it starts to lose me. It does a really good job ramping it up and all those moments, but yeah, when it is just her on her own, I find myself not paying attention. Fable, you already started off by saying you were gripped by it and it was your first watch. Did you have any troubles like I had, or did you like find any moments of it boring? Or
no, I loved most of it, to the very end. You know, I love when a movie, I love when something happens in a movie and I say the logical thing to do, and then 2 seconds later they do it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what was happening in this movie for me. And I respect that. Like, okay, they know we're thinking of what to do.
Right.
Next. Like, you know what I mean? Where when the door starts knocking, I'm like, call your boyfriend. And she goes for the cell phone.
Right.
And then the knocker, I said, grab a knife because she's right in the kitchen. She goes, grabs a knife. I said, okay, this is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Right.
Keep this pace up. And it pretty much did everything, wasn't illogical to me. You know what I mean? So I appreciated that. But I could understand, because all three of you guys are kind of giving me the same vibe. Like
right.
Like I loved this movie when I first saw it, but this time around it's just like, I think some of that is horror movies lose their appeal after the first time. That's just
certain ones,
That's just across the board. But I was gonna say also, there's nobody charismatic in this movie enough for you to care
Yeah.
about anybody, right? Like even the bad guys, they you see them for glimpses. They really don't show too much personality. And the characters that we're introduced to, the couple, they're already somber and fucked up from the beginning because of the whole proposal gone wrong or whatever it was.
Which I love. Like I love the somber opening.
Dude, I was about to say, like, I love that scene, the opening scene at the stoplight where, you know, she's got the tears rolling down her face and sorry.
Right. Right. It's not like
screaming
one of those,
into the mic. My bad, guys.
It's not like one of those camp slashers where you get to follow these kids that, you know, one's goofy, one's this, or this guy's my favorite. So of course it has that rewatchability factor because you're kind of into everybody for some of these movies. But in this one, I could understand how the second watch is like, it was great. It's still good, but not as much. I could see it.
Right. Especially the one like surprise moment.
Yes,
I was
just
film.
about to say that, dude.
My wife had came home, and that was another issue. Like I'm just gonna keep it 100% real. I had to watch this movie during the day. My fucking toddlers walk around doing toddler stuff. I couldn't watch it at night, and it's just, you know, so that just affected my experience with the film. And this is the type of film I even tried. I'm like, baby, I got to be locked the fuck in on this movie because what I remember from the last time that I watched it. It's not that I loved it. It's that I fell asleep. And then I woke up. My wife was like, I am fucking terrified. Come to bed with me. So that was my experience with it. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like that's very real.
No,
like,
that's
you
true
could,
too.
You could either fall asleep or be gripped to you know, ultimate fear with this thing. It's like one way or the other.
But puckering.
Exactly. There you go.
Ninja. Siri, what's a synonym for cinnamon? What's a synonym for elevated? Yeah, thank you. I do need that. The horror community needs something that means elevated. I mean, they probably have it, and I just haven't picked up on it. But Steph, do you find on the rewatch, or if you can remember your first watch? Like, I'm trying to think if I've ever heard you say, like, yeah, that movie was scary. Like, Fable, you'll say it, Stu, say it. Like, did this movie ever scare you? And if, like, what movies do scare you, if any? Not that I'm saying many scare me. It's rare, but some fucking get me. I can't remember you ever saying, like, oh, that one got me.
I'll be honest with you. Maybe that's why it took me so long to gravitate towards horror. Because I quickly, once I realized it was all camera and action, or, you know, blood, makeup effects, you know, I knew it was performance. I get into it, but the only film that I can think of right now that truly scared me was Pumpkinhead as a kid. I was terrified of Pumpkinhead as a child. But, you know, there's thrills in horror movies, but I don't think I'm ever truly scared. Like, you know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But this one, do remember enjoying. I didn't think it was amazing, but I was like, it's elevated. It's, you know, it's not just people getting killed just to get, in a sense it is, but, you know, it was, I think that is part of the problem of the film, is that while I do enjoy the aspect they open up from with the whole, this couple in a roadblock in the relationship, like you guys have stated, there's no reason to care about them, though. You know, we don't have any traits of their personality, or, you know, what makes this relationship tick. You know, there's none of that. I think if they would have spent like 10-15 minutes showcasing their interaction as a, you know, couple, that would have gone a long way for the movie.
It's like that was the sacrifice that they made for giving us that, like, not cold open, but it was kind of like a cold open where we're just like in the middle of some shit that just happened. But it took away from us really getting to connect with them in a more human way, because we're meeting them like at a funeral. It feels like, you know, it's not, but it's got that vibe.
I think like the flashback scene was essential in that respect, for, like, you know, showing her at the wedding dinner or whatever, and, like, you know, seeing her kind of like her element, and like how these two are attracted to each other. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was very, at least we could have used more of that, but that was like, it was the first 13, 14,
I totally
15 minutes of the film, and then it's like, and
my,
then
my
it's
issue
the knock at the door.
That was actually my dig. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, it was hard for them to get those moments in the film. I guess they were struggling with that. But my thought when they did do that is like, dude, I get it. I can tell. Like, just show me the ring box. And I get that he asked her. I already got it before I saw the ring box, but I thought it would have been cool. because I was wondering what did you get out of that flashback, but I guess you're making the point that is what you got. They had to pick and choose these moments of normality to show us. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and I thought it was cool just to show like that they, despite like what they're going through right now, they were in love with each other and they are,
right.
You know what I mean? Like they're a legitimate couple, or at least they were.
I mean, but we don't care though, because that was like a superficial thing, you know, like we understand at face value that this is a couple that, you know, we can insinuate from the flashback they were going good. Obviously not good enough for her to accept his marriage proposal, you know. We don't, you know, but there's no reason to care about that because we don't see how they really click as a couple. We saw some ambiguous of them touching each other's face, giving each other some little lovey-dovey looks, but it's very superficial, you know, and I know you can't get too deep into that, but it wasn't enough to sell me. Also, there was a few scenes later on where it's like they're fucking swinging on the play set. They're just doing shit it's kind of pretentious. They're trying to come off as creepy, and it's not really creepy, you know, like, you know, there's a lot of like, I'm going to knock on your door, but somehow I'm going to break in your house soon enough to like ransack the room without you hearing shit and right on the window. You know, there's a lot of that going on. But I only noticed that my second watch. I say that, you know, that's why I say I need to rewatch the second one, because I remember enjoying this for the most part the first time, but I was kind of picking it apart upon this rewatch.
Right. And it's definitely the type of movie that if you're not into it and you're going to try to, if you feel the call to pick it apart, you're going to have a pretty fucking easy time doing it.
Yeah.
It's only an hour and 15 minutes, which is one thing that I loved about it. They had some extra long credit scenes, I think, just to try and stretch it out and make it respectable length, but hour and 15 and they wrapped it up and it was fucking over.
Always earns a half a point to a point.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, amen, brother. Amen. Like,
exactly. But and also it forgives it for not adding that extra layer of complexity. It reminds me of, like, I said this when I talked to Robbie about that Masters of Horror Argento show that we did, because all those are 50 to 55 minutes. And the stuff that they take out of those shows is the same things that they took out of this movie. It's all the character stuff and all like the extra stuff that you don't necessarily need to make it just like a really simple thing. Stu, what do you think of the killers? Just like the look of the killers and the idea, because this is one thing that makes this movie unique. And I read somewhere that this was like a trend of the 2000s. It's like there's no motivation. It's what made the first Halloween movie so fucking good. It's because he had no motivation. And it was like, what if this crazy dude just came in your house and started slicing you up? And that is the unique thing about this movie. Why are you doing this? Because you were home. It's like, that's the fucking scary line of the movie. And before I ask you that, I guess I already did. That is the thing I keep having to like tell myself while I'm watching the movie. Like, I can freak myself out while watching the movie if I tell myself, like, yeah, this would be fucking scary. Imagine if there was someone at the door. Just imagine if I turned around and there was a guy in a fucking mask right there. That's what this movie, like, it can stay with you afterwards. But I kind of have to work at it to get it to scare me. You know what I mean? But what about you and the characters, Stu?
It worked for me. Like, I love the first intro with her on the porch and the lights out. You know what I mean? Asking for, you know, Tamara or whatever, who obviously doesn't live there. I thought that was a good way to like make it uneasy. The masks were okay and stuff like that. Like, it wasn't super creepy. I felt like they could have done a little bit better job with the masks and just making it a little scarier. However, I loved like the little details they gave, like dude's breathing. The male, the one male, like, you know what I mean? I like him moving through the house. But it worked for me. I thought they were there to get off of, they wanted to culminate as much fear in these two people as possible before they finally off them. And I felt like you could really feel it towards the end there, where they were literally feeding off their fear. You know, you see those eyes kind of like gleaming through the bags. It felt like they were hungry or thirsty for it. And like, just to keep fucking with these people, you know, and giving them little glimpses of hope and then taking it away was their whole modus operandi. I think, you know, obviously the killing was the end game, but this whole process of like just scaring the shit out of these people in a methodical type of way and it worked for me. I thought it was well done. I liked how the violence didn't come towards the end, and when it did come, it was very real. I could have used a little bit more like explicitness in those scenes with like the stabbings, but I get it is what it is, and they had to edit what they had to edit. But as a whole, like these three, they work for me for sure.
Right, hell yeah. Fable, no, I mean, just not just the guys in general, but just like the way that they built fear, the way that they built tension, and all that. What were just like what you thought of the masked characters, but were there any favorite moments, and what did you think about the scariness of the film?
I thought it was really effective, because when I was watching it, and I noticed like the barren area they were in, I'm moving. And I kind of want to move there.
Right. There's a different kind of fear that you have in Queens
but
that I have here.
Exactly. Buyer beware.
So watching this movie definitely made me feel like, well, this is why I'm scared to go there. Because living in apartments my whole entire life, there's only one entrance and one exit. So a killer's got to come through the front door. And that's it, and he's trapped in with me. At that point, but in these houses, man, you could climb to the second floor going through a window, go through the basement, going through the kitchen or whatever the hell it is, come through the back door in the kitchen, the side door in the freaking living room, whatever it is. You got sliding doors in the back, and I looked at my wife and I said, you see, first thing we're doing when I get my license straight and everything's right, gun. First thing. She was like, hell yeah, we're buying a gun.
My wife just got her FOID card. She told me I gotta get mine. We're gunning up over here, folks. Let it be known. We're fucking loading up.
In that sense, it was gripping enough for me to have that fear, to evoke those thoughts. So it was effective in that manner. But the killers, I gotta side with Link a little bit when he says it's a little pretentious with the the swinging and the the weird motions and stuff like that. It's a little extra kind of. Yeah. It does give him a little bit of personality, but not enough for me to care. And the non-motivation factor of it, besides we're just fucking crazy. You know what I mean? It's okay. But it is effective. What they did to these people to scare the shit out of them and the way they reacted. I totally buy it. I totally bought it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I think I agree with everything that you guys have been saying. Like the look of the main guy with like the scarecrow look, like the bag on his head. I dig his look more than I dig like the Japanese looking whatever they've got. And it's like there's part of me that thinks like, oh, it looks like a look that's been done to death. But I do feel like it's kind of like the Strangers started the masked killer trend back. Like we'd lost that since the 90s. And I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like The Strangers is one of the big movies that had a masked killer. And then after that, you started seeing not just more masked killers, but way more home invasion movies. This had a $9 million budget and they made like $83 million. And then you get The Collector the following year. We had a very similar look. You get Your Next a few years later, which is a twist on it. It's you get a flood of all these home invasion movies, and then you get a flood of these home invasion twist movies like Your Next and Don't Breathe, where it's like, oh, we broke into the house, but the guys have maniac, you know what I mean? Or Better Watch Out, where everybody's playing with like the trend of home invasion movies and putting their own little twist on.
Or the trap you don't know you're walking into with The Invitation, a modern classic.
Right. Obvious. Somebody said
shout out to earlier. Nick. Shout out to Nick loves that movie.
He really loves it.
I'm telling you, man. I was actually thinking about it yesterday. Steph, I think you were the only one that half had my back on The Invitation. I think you gave it a B-. You gave it a respectable score. All you guys, all the rest of you were just confused. That's all. No, I'm kidding. What was I gonna say? Oh no, you made me think like my favorite thing that the killers do is when they make the decision to take their masks off. That there's something about that is just so cool, like one by one, and then like they're gonna kill you now it's fucking over, and there's something really really creepy about that. But Steph, you kind of already touched on it. Did you have anything to add to just the way that they build scares, suspense, or just the look of the killer, or the aftermath of this film? You're the one that would have the most to comment on what this film did, the legacy of it, what it inspired.
No, I think you summed it up with it did kind of, it's almost like the way 28 Days Later kind of reinvigorated zombie sense. This reinvigorated the whole masked attacking people randomly at home, if that was ever, or just that. I think that it does work. I remember in the trailer, I might have missed it in the movie, but when she's like, "Why are you doing this?" Or she's like, "Because you were home or you answered the door," something along those lines.
I wonder if that was in the trailer.
Cool.
It's at the top of the movie poster, so it definitely seems like it was like one of the taglines they wanted to go with.
Right. To me, that would
Oh no, I was gonna say I just remember being really geeked to see this movie based off the trailer, just because I was like, oh shit, like they're just doing it because you're home. Like that's like Faye was saying, that's terrifying. Because when you think about a house, there's so many different entry points. There's windows and basement and all this other shit. So you're like, oh my god, like that does get under your skin.
It really does. Like, and the bigger the house you have, the more entry points that there are. Because I'm looking at my house, I've got a 3-bedroom. It's a decent sized house, but it's like I could see it most of it. But you got a house like this, there might be people. You might have fucking Diddy doing some crazy shit in his fucking room over here. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going on if you got
that's
a big
what I was telling
house.
my wife, because she was like, when they started knocking on the door, right? And she goes to the door. She locks the door, which tells me the door was open the whole fucking time. Right.
I know.
So then I'm like, well, imagine that. Imagine that you lock the door now. Now you got to go to fucking like 7 different rooms to lock and close every goddamn thing.
That would be terrifying. You know what I mean?
That house was way too leaky, man. Way too many points of entry. It's like they felt like they was never safe. Like from like
they were doing
around circle. Yeah, right. They were and she was like terrified and put the deadbolt back. I was like, girl, that ain't doing nothing. Like
there was two things that really stood out to me about her performance. One was like the first time she's sitting there, maybe she's smoking a cigarette or something, and there's a knock at the door, and she's got this long ass neck as it is, and the way her neck muscles twitch, and like I don't know, there's something about that. She did it twice in the movie, and there's another point where she goes up to the door, and like she opens the door. That's when she sees like the crazy masked chick, and she just goes. like a silent, like slow motion turn, and like I could see that. I could see like just freezing up, being like, "Oh shit!" But speaking of Liv Tyler, Steph, I'll send it to you first this time. What did you think of just her, and then the other dude, who's some Canadian actor who he's been in a handful of things, but nothing.
Scott Speedman.
Yeah, you get
the classic Torque. Have you not seen Torque with Ice Cube?
I've not seen a lot of things with Ice Cube. Actually, unless he was in Friday. But what did you think of the cast, which is basically just those two, Steph?
Solid performances. You said this earlier, like they're giving good performances, but just based off like the way it was edited or like the script, we don't care really. They're giving good performances. Like the fact that you mentioned the Liv Tyler jump, that stood out to me because I was like, God damn, that was like, that's authentic. She, it's you gotta imagine she's doing that on a time, like that's not a natural reaction, So the way she makes it come off was like, damn, she's killing it. I think she kind of holds up the movie, to be honest. They did kind of linger on a little too bit with those random scenes of her meandering while her husband's out with the shotgun, or her boyfriend, her fiance. But she's probably the strongest. I mean, it really is just her and him. He was fine, for the scenes he had, but he didn't really have like too many emotional moments to, He was pissed off. He was like all pissy, eating ice cream. Very morose. Then he like disappears for a good portion of the film. It's really just Liv Tyler who's like the performances. So I think she did a fine job. I just think it comes down to like the editing or the script where we don't care about them at the end of the day. The mindset that it could happen to us is terrifying, but I don't care about what happens to these characters.
Exactly. Like I said, I have to participate in order to get myself. If I try to work myself up, then I can get scared during this movie. You made me think of something. Do you guys? I was thinking like if they added another layer of complexity, like if this was another movie, you would be maybe questioning the whole time whether or not the boyfriend was a part of it or something. You know what I mean? There's none of that. Or am I can you guys think of like any red herrings at all through the film, or is it there's like none of that in this movie, right? You're
Well, I
questioning
mean,
it, but
there
you never
was-
have a hint.
I did. I definitely did.
Okay,
At the
whether he was
beginning,
involved,
there was
because he
Yeah,
disappears
'cause
when it
I-
happens.
Yeah, it is
No.
sketchy at the beginning.
she had got like scared at the beginning, and he like, you know, I think she had seen like one of the people or something, and he like, you know, he pops out of nowhere. He's like, what's going on, you know? And it, like, meanwhile, he's not heard anything. It's like, bro, how have you not heard anything? Like, you know what, you know, house can't be that big. It was at the very beginning, but I mean, that was the only instance where I thought he was kind of, I mean, yeah, I would say that's the only instance I kind of thought he was on some fuck shit for the most part. He didn't really have too much. I mean, maybe it was his performance why he kind of seemed like he could have had something to do with it. You know, he didn't really have too much to go off of as a character.
For me, it was when he left the house. When he's like, "Oh, I'll be back" or some shit like that. I was like, okay, and then the shit started going down, right? Like, it started really going down. And then when he comes back on some like, you know, he just pops into the room like, oh, she's like, oh, you're back or whatever. And right there and then I'm like, I don't know, don't trust this guy.
Exactly. She's just like, she's waiting there with a knife. She just like crushed the light bulb. She's like fearing for her life. And then like he just shows up. You don't know if he was just one of those people outside or not. Like,
right. It's kind of like fucking what's his name, Skeet Ulrich in Scream 1. It's like, oh, I'm here to save you. It's like, oh, are you sure you want that guy in that mask?
Yep.
What did I just think of? Oh, I wanted to ask you guys, do either you guys or any of you guys find it weird at the beginning of this movie that like it's 4:30 in the morning and they do not, like, Liv Tyler does not, she's super hot. She's not that hot at 4:30 in the morning. Trust me. She's a little bit less hot at 4:30 in the morning. Like she's like, oh, I'm gonna run out and get you smokes. She's like, I'll go to bed. He's like, you're not gonna sleep. She's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, she will. It's 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
She's going to bed soon.
And you're
like,
probably both like half drunk from the wedding. Like, yeah, that was, I don't know. Yeah, I feel you there. It definitely felt like they should have been lagging a little bit.
All right. Well, you know what, dude? I told you guys at the beginning of this that this is a fucking straightforward movie. And I don't want to stretch this out any longer than we need to, but I'm more than welcome to stretch it out. If you guys have anything more to add to this before we grade it, or if anybody thinks of anything while we're grading it, feel free to do so. But anybody have anything right now that you want to get into before we send it around with the grades?
Just real quick, do y'all think the lack of violence, basically up till the end, or the lack of bloodshed or whatever, I felt like it was a good quality in the movie. Did y'all feel like there should have been more action or more like just to keep you like, I don't know, keep you like a little bit more invested, or do you think did that work for y'all? Because I was wondering if that worked for y'all. Like
Fine.
It worked for me.
I think they did it. It was gory and brutal just enough. You know, it didn't need to be over the top. You know, that the idea of it alone is already terrifying. You know, that, to be honest, the more disturbing scene for me is when they're tied up in the chairs at the end and they're slowly getting stabbed. Like, you know, that shit fucked me. Unnerving, bro. Like, to know it's coming.
That's why I think she did, like you said earlier, Liv Tyler. I think she did like a phenomenal job playing that off when they were getting all stabbed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That off,
I love that shot at like their hands. They're holding hands and she's got the ring on. It was so good.
Yeah, that is
so
good. I like when she tries the ring on after he leaves, and then kind of gets it stuck on her finger and shit. Like, that was, there was some cool symbolism behind that. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say, well, sorry. Let me just say it real quick because I'll fucking forget this. Another thing, like right when they get back to the house, he goes inside first and she's outside, and the house is like super fucking dark, and she's like really hesitant to go inside.
Yes.
And it just gives you the idea like the house is scary.
I love that scene.
The home is not a safe place. It usually is, but tonight it's not.
Yeah, he goes in and like she's waiting right there behind her, almost like she's one of the killers or something herself. Like it just makes you. I love like we said earlier with the first shot at the stoplight, man. It makes you. It doesn't ever really let you get comfortable. Like it's uneasy from the jump.
Right. Hell yeah, Steph. Sorry, man.
Oh no, I was just gonna say shout out to It's Always Sunny. Dennis from that show had a nice, quick, very cameo. It's funny when this movie came out. This came out like 2 years after Crank, and he was in that, and then he was in Crank 2 the following year of this, and he was always dying. Like he was always fucking. All he had in the movie, he was dying, and I just thought that was really funny. That was like his bit in films for a while. Shout out to the show.
Hell yeah! Speaking about that one, dude, that's like we talk about the killing at the end. That's great, but like the Mike scene was one of the best scenes in the movie to me. Like him showing up, like we know that James or whatever has called him. Like he's his SOS. Get me out of here. Everything went bad with the girlfriend. Like he shows up earlier than anticipated, gets the brick through the window, like finds out what's going on, and like I love how he's moving through the house, dudes behind him, and you don't know how that shit is gonna go, right?
Right.
Him getting shot in the face is one of the last thoughts in your mind. You're like, man, when is this dude gonna jump on him? But also that dude's waiting on him. Like, are they gonna get like a 2-for-1 type? Like, what's going on? And then like just the way that whole scene goes, and then he comes out and they've written "killer" on the mirror, like
I like
just
that
to fuck with him. Like it was that was like. Besides the end, that was my other favorite scene in the flick.
Fable, because it was your first watch. For me, I knew it was coming. My wife had walked in right before that happened, and she'd seen the movie before, but it still fucking got her. She's like, "Oh my god!" I remember it really getting me the first time, and it was like my big takeaway from the movie. He's like, "Oh my god, they killed Dennis right in the face!" Like, oh my god! But did it get you, Fable?
No.
You saw it?
Well,
let me just because
as soon as he stepped out the car, started going down the hallway, and I'm like, call out to your boy.
Right.
Call out to your boy. You're gonna get shot if you don't call out to your boy right now.
Yeah.
Call out to him. And he's just
it must have been
nothing. And I'm like, he's getting shot in the face.
Nobody calls out to
like, how are you going to take the record off? You're going to take the record off and keep creeping through the house? Like, no, come on, man, say something. Like,
my thing is how because did it get me?
He didn't see anything yet. I mean, he got the brick through the window or whatever, but he didn't see nobody yet. So I would be in there like, James,
right,
James,
right. Why wouldn't you?
James,
why the fuck wouldn't you? You sure as shit wouldn't be afraid that your buddy's going to hear you. You know what I mean? You're not going to be nervous that he would hear you. But anyway, my thought is like, what tricks did they use to get people to forget that? Like, how, you know what I mean? There's such a delicate thing. The last time you see them, they're pointing the gun at the door and they're sitting there holed up. And then like they get enough of us to forget that it's become a
they have that scene where he's waiting right there with the gun, and then it goes back to like we go outside and Mike pulls up. So they kind of take you out of that immediacy of like him waiting for somebody to show up at the door, and it goes to like Mike pulling up, and then he kind of slowly like gets into that position. But I feel like they did a good enough job of like
clearly I just don't.
Yeah,
but I think that was the point, right? That build up to, because if you know that's gonna happen, that's the reaction they're looking for. Because I had it, I'm like, I'm begging this guy to say something because I know he's gonna get shot in the face.
Right. And that is the thing. Like you pointed out earlier, as half elevated as this movie is, it still has those trophy moments, and it has those moments where you're being like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you doing that?" Like it's like a 1983 slasher and shit. So,
yeah, like when he went out in the woods to hunt those motherfuckers, I'm like, "Come on, bro! Like, what are you doing? You go, you gotta like he was trying to like roll over and shoot him like all quick with a shotgun and stuff like that. Yeah, and then he got." Yeah.
What I didn't like about that, he walks out of the house. He walks right out of the door, and he's like standing there under the light, still talking to Liv Tyler, like having this conversation. And then the next time we see him, he's all fucking commando army crawling. It's like I would have army crawled out the door. Like I would have started that way. You know what I mean? They fucking know where you're at now.
Facts.
What up? Greetings, Allison Troy. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you. So yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's go ahead. Grade this thing, you guys down in the chat. If you've seen The Strangers, which I assume most of you have, slap a grade down there out of 5. So we'll start with you, Mr. Stu. Lay it on me, brother.
Oh man! All right, I'm gonna give this one like I'll go a 3.75 out of 5. Right? I felt like first watch it was really strong. Second watch not so much, but I still feel like it has a lot of great tension, a lot of suspense, so a couple very memorable scenes. So yeah, I feel like it still holds up for the most part on rewatch. I'll go 3.75 out of 5 for me.
3.75, rather respectable, my friend, Mr. Fable. What about you, bro?
I think this is a good little slap right here, man. Nice little hour and 15-minute little horror movie that I think everybody will enjoy. The only problem I have with this film is that I like happy endings.
Yeah.
I don't like when the killer just gets away and they don't get, they're just due desserts. We've seen people suffer for an hour and these guys don't get nothing. They don't get a cut or nothing. Nobody gets shot. Like, okay, all right, I just killed them. Huh? Fine. Not a terrible ending. I did enjoy the, stabbing scene or whatever at the end. Because it's very, it's very grim and whatever. But
right.
Besides that, I like happy endings. So I'm gonna go solid 4 for this.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man. I was thinking that going in, like, this is one of the bleaker endings that is. I think the home invasion subgenre in general is super bleak. Just speaking of it, because I forgot. First of all, what's up, Cheel? Glad you're listening. Someone mentioned Funny Games earlier. Stu, you said you've seen it. I hear about that one all the time. Got this Summer Abroad thing coming up. We're doing about 6 foreign films starting in June. That is definitely a contender. Funny Games is on the short list for
fantastic.
We'll be covering.
Wasn't it? Are you doing the original, the OG, or are you doing the one with Tim Roth? And
if I do one, I would be whatever the bigger one is. I think the foreign one is the one from '97.
Okay.
The remake ain't too shabby either, though.
No.
Michael Pitt was I love Michael Pitt in the remake, man. He was a menace, as I told Warren. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Where we leave off, Steph? We got your rating, right?
Yes. This, I did enjoy this on the first watch. So I feel Fable on the 4 because that's what I would have given this movie on my first watch. Upon the rewatch and me picking it apart, it's knocked down just a little bit, but not too much. This is still a very entertaining movie. At the solid performances. I'd be hard pressed to say there is not a horror movie where a character doesn't make dumb decisions. Or I'm like, don't do that, right. So right. I can't really hold that against this movie. I'll give this a solid 3.5.
Yeah.
I really. Because I get what they're going for, but I mean, I know it is a personal preference, but for me, if they just spent maybe not even 15 minutes, 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes showcasing the dynamics of their relationship, I would have cared and been rooting for that couple to. I know it is a situational thing where it's like you can place yourself in that movie, but like you said, it kind of feels like hard work, Verno.
Right.
A movie should do a job and make you already invested in these characters, while the addition is like, oh, I could imagine that being terrifying. So just because of that, I will knock it down just a little bit, but I think it is a solid movie and well worth the watch. Solid 3.5.
Beautiful. Well said, brother. I think I'm right there with you at a 3.5. And it's exactly that. There's part of me that I keep on wanting to blame myself. Like, I could have been more into it. But like I said, like, no, the movie should have done that job for me. But at the same time, I respect the camera work. It's shot in that documentary style. It's of the era. We keep on talking about the kills or the kill at the end, basically, or kills at the end. And it reminds me in a less brutal way, but of, again, Rob Zombie, 2007, I think, right? 2007, the year before this. This is the era. Nobody was into these fancy fucking 80s set piece kills. It was more about grounded realism. A fucking terrorist is going to cut you with a box cutter was the thought process. And that was what was in the fucking air at the time. That's what we wanted to feel. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's very true, though. That's a good point. That's a good point.
The hour and 15-minute-ness of it is just like, it's probably the best part of the fucking movie, though, because I could throw it out. But at the same time, what I was going to say is I feel like one day I'll watch this movie and I'll be in the exact same right mindset. I'll have smoked the exact right strain and it'll be a 5 for me. But right now it's a 3.5. And I'm happy with that. We got a 4 from Sal. We got a 4 from Allison Troy.
Station guys.
I think
the happy ending is Liv Tyler screaming. Says
she's one of those, like, where did she go, man? I guess she hadn't acted. This is the first film that she'd done after giving birth to her first child and has she done anything in a while? Because
No.
she's way more talented than I think like I've ever given her credit for, and she doesn't
Great.
have enough big performances. She's got the Lord of the Rings, and she's got this, and I'm sure she's got some other things I'm forgetting, but.
And that Aerosmith music video with Alicia Silverstone. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget that.
I never would. Crush. Right? Crush.
Oh, was it Jaden? Isn't it Jaden?
Brian? Was it
Crying. Yeah, Crush was the Alicia Silverstein movie.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Now that we've got an Alicia Silverstone reference, I think we can get to wrapping this bad boy up. I'm just realizing I didn't make my fucking slideshow. I meant to make a slideshow with my thumbnails I've got coming up and your guys' thumbnails, but I didn't do any of that shit. And I have big things coming up, man. I know you guys do too. Next week on the show, we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Blood Splatter Chatter with a chill hangout. We're doing some trivia. I've got some we've got these cards we're gonna play with. Rock and Robbie's gonna come hang out with us. I think most of these guys, fucking E and Nick, try to schedule this thing with some fucking up and comer Mark Russell, this interview at the same goddamn time. So I don't know if Stu's gonna be here, but this isn't.
I'll definitely be. Yeah, I'll be through at some point, man. Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
I am, and not. I'm not saying this to make you feel. I don't want you to think I'm not trying to do you a favor, but just so you know, I'm not doing this for you. But I am starting the show an hour earlier, just because I plan on. I might want to go fucking 2 hours that night if we're feeling frisky, and I just like starting earlier. I kind of don't. I'm fucking over starting so late. When we started this show, I would stay up to 4 o'clock in the morning. My lifestyle has flipped since then. I'm lucky if I make it to 10 o'clock at night now, and I'm like, these fucking shows are too late. But anyway, trivia next week, and then I think I might be taking the week off after that, and then Hostel 1 and 2 double feature, and then Summer Abroad, bunch of foreign films. And I'll say up front, it's not all going to be foreign language. So if you're someone that doesn't dig reading your fucking movies, I'm gonna mix it up between foreign language and then like British films and some Aussie horror, New Zealand horror, shit like that, just to spread it around a little bit. But Stu, my man, fantastic show you and Link last night. Tell the people about Supreme Clientele.
Thank you, man. Yeah, every Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Catch Link and myself doing Supreme Clientele over on the Dr. Doom Fan Club YouTube channel, discussing comics new and old. Last night we broke down X-Men 97 along with Kaya, Get Fury. We looked at Absolute Power versus Blood Hunt. So about 3 or 4 new issues, and then we look at like a throwback run issue book every week. So yeah, y'all come through every Wednesday night 9:30 and check us out, man. Love to see y'all in the chat.
Dr. Doom's Fan Club, where they very rarely talk about Dr. Doom.
There you go. You son of a bitch.
Fable, my man. Hashtag
don't encourage him, dude. Don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, I love a good one, man. Come on.
Yeah, it is a good one. It is a good one. He keeps hammering that one home. He's so funny.
He's so funny. Hold on. Let me see real quick. I'm neglecting the chat real quick. Allison Troy says she fell to that mid-aughts thing where older actresses didn't get to keep having a career after 35. Sad but true. Even though she's just such a classic.
She is, and she's gorgeous. Yeah, and she's a good actress. Like the way she expresses emotion and stuff like that, I could watch her all day long, man.
Right. And she's so subtle. She has her moments where she goes big, but she's very restrained in this movie. You know, it sells it. It sells it more when you don't have to be screaming like Samara Weaving and Ready or Not, even though I love that too, but you don't have to do that.
Right.
But
you guys ever seen Jersey Girl? Underrated movie. It gets a lot of but it's Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler. It's a Kevin Smith movie. It's actually it's underrated. I
haven't seen it in probably 20 years or whatever at least.
Yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I saw
it's been that long.
I like where we at. Fable, you got a show tomorrow night, 9 Eastern time? Tell the people.
Come join us tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, over on the One Collection Down YouTube channel, man. We'll be celebrating my brother JT, man. JT, John Thomas, a member of the PCP Army Bad Batch since the beginning. He passed away in December of 2022. This past Wednesday was his birthday, so I wanted to dedicate this Friday show to his memory. So I plan on having as much of the Bad Batch as I can. Throwing out the invite tomorrow, guys, just to let you guys know anybody who wants to come through, even if it's just to come in and dip out. I don't care. whatever it is. We always got Nick and Stu. We're gonna do the news and everything, but I'd love if everybody would come through and show your boy some love. You know what I mean? For his birthday. But yeah, man, come hang out. It's not a doom and gloom. We're all
also
crying.
a crazy weekend, crazy weekend news. Definitely some
exactly. I don't want
interesting stuff to talk about. Yeah,
like Stu just said, a ton of shit happened today, guys. A ton of shit happened.
Hell yeah,
just today. So yeah, come hang out, guys. It's gonna be a lot of fun, man.
Hell yeah. Hell mother trucking. Yeah. All right. So we done did it, man. Next Thursday, 7:00 Central Time, 8:00 Eastern Time. Be here for a fun, casual hangout where we get together, we talk some trivia. And again, tomorrow night, we'll run One Collection. I'm like, what the fuck is this channel for a second? I was about to say the Blame Fable channel. One Collection down. Be there for #Blame Fable and his amazing friends. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.